billion in South Carolina. Personally vouch for their products. Having flown B-52s back in Vietnam, they put out a good airplane. So anyway, today we have with us Dan Mooney. Dan is currently the Vice President of Engineering for Boeing South Carolina Engineering Design Center since June of last year. Mooney is responsible for guiding the growth, the capacity of newly established design center, as well as overseeing all matters relating to staffing, people development, functional excellence, and management of the engineering statement of work for Boeing South Carolina. He is a member of the South Carolina site leadership team. Now I sat here and looked through his bio, and he has worked for Boeing since 1980, and it looks like he's literally held a job, just about every job there, since 1980. But he joined the company in 1980 as a stress analyst and spent his first year with the company at Boeing Helicopters Division, Philadelphia. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering from Pennsylvania State University, and he is a Fellow of the Royal Aeronautical Society and an Associate Fellow of the AIAA. So Dan, welcome to Columbia.
Good afternoon. You know, it's really an honor to be invited here to speak with you today. As you've heard, I have been around Boeing for a while. I sort of consider myself a lifer. I started right out of school in 1980. Most of that time has been out in the Seattle and Everett Puget Sound area, and I am really pleased, really proud to be part of Boeing South Carolina now. And I love talking about what we're doing here in South Carolina, so I appreciate the chance to do that today. And I just thought we'd start with a quick video that we have that I think will give you a bit of a flavor, a flavor for the Low Country in South Carolina, but also for the attitude of our employees. And for those of you who haven't had a chance to visit our facility, by the way, how many here have had a chance to tour through Boeing? Hopefully more of you have had that chance. Give you a little idea of what goes on those big buildings out by the Charleston Airport. So, and by the way, it features a local artist, Seth G. Now let's go ahead and roll the video.
Bring it on. We are going strong. Bring it on.
We're going strong.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
We're going strong.
By the way, the part that I think we get most excited about is when we finally hand over those keys to the customers and they fly that airplane away and getting ready to put out service to their customers. So love that last part there. Go ahead, Tim. So, you know, one of the things that we get asked a lot is, why did Boeing make this decision to come to South Carolina and make this big investment in South Carolina? And, you know, really so much of it involves around the support that we felt from the government, the local governments, the state government, the local businesses, and the community. And I feel like there's just a closer connection between our team, our workforce, and the community here than other places that I've worked at Boeing. And right from the beginning, you know, we have had just great support to help us make the investment and develop our business here in South Carolina. One of the challenges, of course, and I think one of the concerns that everyone had when we decided to establish a major production facility here was, could we acquire and train a workforce that could do this high-tech work, you know, where there's no compromising of quality, and in order to be competitive, it needs to be first-time quality, first-pass quality. And again, we've had great support from the community and the local governments in helping us to be able to identify, to acquire that workforce, and most importantly, to train them. Great collaboration on the training programs for our workforce, and our workforce is proving themselves every day now. You know, of course, and I'll go back in a little bit of the background on where we came from and where we're headed, but the facility here in South Carolina started not as ours, but as a facility owned by Vought and a joint venture between Vought and Alenia called Global Aeronautica, who had the responsibility for fabricating and assembling the aft portion of the airplane and for assembling the center section of the airplane from parts that were built at other partners. So we did have a good basis to start from. We did have a good workforce to start with as we eventually acquired those businesses. We felt like there was a very favorable business environment here for us. And, you know, the ability, of course, one thing we always need to do is be based at an airport, because we have to fly those airplanes in and out. We have, in the case of the 87, we're flying the major components in and out by airplane. So very good logistical facilities. And it felt like it was a site that was going to be able to grow and absorb the kind of growth that I'll have to say we may not have completely envisioned at the time, but is certainly envisioned now. And I think we have a great opportunity to grow even more. And then finally, it supported a global a diversification strategy, a geographic diversification strategy that is part of our future, where, you know, we don't want to be so dependent just on one region of the country. You know, whether it's natural disasters, work stoppages, you know, certainly there's a risk in depending so completely on one area. So it's been a good opportunity to support that strategy as well. But, you know, in the end, it's been, I think, such a win-win. It's been really good for Boeing, and it's been good for the state, it's been good for the local community, and I think it's just going to get better. Okay? So this is what the main campus looks like now. There is, if you've been by there recently, there is a fair amount of site work going on, getting ready for some future growth. This is again, what we call the main campus. And I'll just go back through the history of this. And it started with these two facilities, the mid-body and the aft body. The aft was owned by Vought. The mid-body was the joint venture between Alenia and Global Aeronautica. The genesis really started over 10 years ago when Boeing made the decision to develop the 787. We actually, before we made the decision that we were going to have partners do that work, we had actually identified and looked at Charleston, South Carolina as a potential site. When we made the decision that we were going to risk share that with partners, we kind of told them, hey, this is a pretty good place to check out. And they made the decision to develop those facilities here. We had no idea at the time that was eventually, we were going to eventually be acquiring those facilities. But in about 2008, we recognized that that work we were asking our partners to do was really complex. really challenging, and they probably weren't going to have the capability to be able to do that work and get up to the kind of rates that we needed. I think at the time, supporting 10 airplanes a month. And I was just telling my table mates that I was on the program back in that time frame, and if you had asked us on there, were we ever going to be able to build 10 of these a month, we did not see how we were going to do that. And, you know, we were just trying to get the airplane up in the air and get it certified. So anyway, we made the decision. We felt like if we were going to be successful, we needed to acquire this portion of the business and take it on ourselves, which we did in 2008 and 2009. Well, it wasn't too long after that we also realized that, you know, we were probably not going to be able to get up to 10 a month in final assembly out of Everett, and that we were going to need a second line. So we started looking around, where would it make sense to do that? We have never done final assembly on any of our commercial products outside of Puget Sound. So, you know, there was a lot of concern about whether that was possible. There was a lot of resistance to the idea, but, you know, also factored in there, we wanted to diversify geographically. We didn't want to just continue to be so dependent on Puget Sound, and things were pretty full up there. So when we started looking around again for where would it make sense to do that final assembly, South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina came out as the number one choice. And lots of challenges to that, you know, a lot of naysayers. Again, we were going to be able to acquire and train the workforce to do that kind of work that had never been done here before. We were going to be able to get that facility up and running. With the great support from the local government, from the state, and from the community, we were able to develop that final assembly site. And it's something like 600 by 1,000 feet long building. We were able to develop that and get it up and running in just about 1 year. And we're not sure that there's any place else that we would have been able to do something like that because of the support we have here. And, you know, that final assembly facility is now successfully producing three 787s. And the next question was, okay, do we build them here but then send them out to Seattle to finish them up and deliver? Because, man, that's a whole nother complex process to do all the finishing touches, get it checked out, certified, and hand it over to the customer. We said, no, we're going to do that here as well. So the delivery center and the flight line was created. I think if you go to the next chart. And then, you know, so the next challenge was getting up completely up to the rate of 10 a month in the mid and aft, because we support, whether the airplanes are built here or in Seattle, all of the mid bodies, all of the F sections come from Boeing, South Carolina, and we recognize that Vought did not really invest sufficiently in the F body facility to be able to support that kind of rate. So last year we spent beginning of the year, right around this time of the year, we started up to that 10 a month rate. But to do that, we realized we needed to expand those facilities as well. So you can see that purple area is the expansion in that F body building that's now complete. We're just finished adding some of the production tooling to parts of that. The mid body, using lean processes and lean tools, we've been able to go up to the 10 a month rate without expanding the footprint there in the mid body. But when you go through there, it's pretty cozy. It's a lot of work going on in that facility. And we've just completed a balcony that goes across that F body building now, so that if you have a chance to go there, you can walk across this balcony and see out on either side and see the production going on from that vantage point. It's really, even those of us around there love just walking across there and seeing those parts getting underway. Now one more piece on the main campus that's been missing, and that is final livery paint. We don't have a facility there to be able to do the final paint job on the airplane, which means we have to fly it. Either right now we're flying it to Louisiana or out to California to get it painted, and that takes time. We lose a little bit of control on the quality when we do that, and it just adds to the flow. So we have now made a commitment to add a decorative paint facility. You see down kind of on the bottom left there. So when you go by and you see the construction and the site work going on, it's primarily around building that paint facility, so we can just roll the airplanes over, get them painted, and then move them on to delivery, as well as the tow path that will allow the airplanes to get in and out of there. So we're looking forward to that. That's going to help us as we go up to take our next steps up to rate. to 12 and 14 in mid-body and ultimately up to 7 in final assembly. That's going to support that rate increase. So major investments in the main campus and kind of completing the last phase of those major investments right now. Go to the next one. Now, that main campus, though, isn't the only major facility we have in South Carolina. The other is nearby. We call it the North Campus. It's in Ladson, and that includes, started with the IRC, the Interiors Responsibility Center. We wanted to have pretty much redundant sources for the components that we built for the 87s that we're building here in South Carolina, and not depending solely on Puget Sound. So we built an independent Interiors Responsibility Center that basically builds the cabin components, the sidewalls, the galleys that go into our airplanes. And that's a very state-of-the-art facility. It's probably one of the leanest production facilities across all of Boeing. And the cool thing to me when you go out there, it's hard to tell the mechanics from the technicians from the engineers. Everybody is just out there on the floor working to improve the processes. Next chart. And about a little over a year ago, we made another decision to grow. When we divested of Boeing Wichita, which is now Spirit, we divested of our capability to design and build nacelle components, the parts that wrap around the engine, the thrust reverser and the fan cowls. We divested of that capability, and we've never quite been completely satisfied either with what we can get from those suppliers, and we felt like that was an area we wanted to have our own capability. We thought that would help spur the competitiveness of that business and some technologies that we felt like we had to really add to the state of the art. So we made the decision we are going to get back into the nacelle business. We're going to do it here in South Carolina. So we have now completed a new propulsion South Carolina facility that includes the engineering, then the design, and eventually the build of those nacelle components. We are designing and building the inlet for the 737 MAX, the next version of the 737, and we'll be building that there. The 737 is going up to rates committed to 52 airplanes a month. And so when you think about 2 engines on every airplane, that's over 100 nacelles every month. And so that will be a highly automated, very state-of-the-art facility in order to support that production rate. And we are designing, not building, but we are designing in conjunction with Spirit the nacelle for the next version of the 777 and 777X. So excited about that capability. And then finally, up in the top there, a more recent announcement was that we are establishing a Boeing Research and Technology Center here that will not only develop technology that we'll use in South Carolina, but that will develop technology that will be used across the whole enterprise. And that's bringing some real talent, some real expertise, a core of expertise in a number of areas, including advanced composites, here to South Carolina. That's going to really help us develop into the future. Thanks, Charlie. And then finally, also last year, Boeing was able to acquire through leases another over 400 acres of land. Most of it just across International Boulevard from the current main campus, although that little blue part in the middle, that's notched up in the middle, that's the area where the paint facility is going. So we more than doubled the size of the land there at the main campus. And of course, we get asked, well, what's going to go there? And the real honest answer is, and I'm not kidding, we're not sure. Other than the paint facility, we are putting in some parking across the street because that's tight right now. So we're not sure what's going to go in there for the future, but we wouldn't be making that investment if we didn't plan to grow. So it's going to be exciting to see what the future brings for that additional capacity here in South Carolina. So I look at that whole strategy. It started out of necessity. We needed to acquire the facilities from Boeing Global Aeronautica because we sort of had no choice if we weren't going to be successful. But it's turned into a really strategic decision for our company, and it will be a big part of our future. So what's all that add up to? Well, Jack had a few of those facts. If you look back compared to 2009, we were around 2,000 teammates, total employment. We're up over around 7,500 employees now. When you add in all those the facilities like the new Research and Technology Center that's growing. We were up under 1,000 square feet of facility. We're 3.2 million, right? Under a million. We're now over 3.2 million square feet. So not quite as big as Everett yet, but I think we're about 25 or 30% the size of the Everett facility. In acreage, we've gone from 240 now up to almost 900 acres of land that we have available to us, and over a $2 billion investment. And we know there's more coming. Now, the part there on the right is the centers that have been established here. And you know, we are not, Boeing South Carolina is not just a production center now. It has become a real center of technology development, of intellectual property creation, and of engineering. And we've established an information technology center that supports the whole Boeing enterprise. We have the Engineering Design Center, which is the part that I lead, that I'll talk a little bit more about, that's doing design and production support, Propulsion South Carolina, and now the new ER&T Technology Center. Okay. So, you know, our typical strategy on an airplane model is to develop a family of those products, and no different on the 787. The 787 family, as it's envisioned today, includes the 87-8, the -9, and the -10. The -8 is what we have produced most of up to now. But in this past year, the -9 went into service. We've been building -8s in South Carolina. We have been building all of the mid-body and aft sections for the -9 because they were the only place that produced them. We are just now beginning to produce -9s in final assembly. The -9 is not only an increase in the length, we increase about 18 feet, about 40 additional passengers, but we also increase the range on that. It's unusually when we stretch an airplane, the range goes down a bit, but we put even more technology into the -9 to reduce weight and make it more efficient. So you see that it has over 8,000 nautical miles of range. And it was exciting for us coming up here today because as we drove out of the plant, the first 787-9, instead of being inside the factory, was outside the factory today. It rolled out over the weekend, and it rolled out 2 days ahead of schedule. Usually when a new derivative model goes through production line for the first time, there's disruption that goes with it. There's learning curve, you know, and that's certainly something we have concerns about on the -9, but it has gone even better than expected, and I think that is a tribute to the workforce in Boeing South Carolina to be able to not only roll it out, but roll it out ahead of schedule. So we'll be producing more and more -9s in Boeing South Carolina. And another exciting announcement last year was that South Carolina was chosen as the only site where we produced the next member of the 87 family, the -10. The -10 is another about 18-foot stretch, another 40 passengers. You know, when you can add more seats to an airplane, we look at cost per seat, fuel burn per seat. So when you add more seats to an airplane, it makes more money for our customers. And that -10 is a really super efficient airplane. Even though the range when we increase the weight and the size, the range goes down a bit, but it can still fly everywhere as an A330 can, and it can fly there a whole lot more efficient. So we think the future is bright for that model, and it will only South Carolina will be the only place in the future that will be producing all three members of the 787 family. We're also excited because on the -10, our team in South Carolina, our engineering team, is doing part of the design work. So that aft section that's being stretched will be designed is being designed right now by our team in South Carolina, and they're doing great. So, you know, we talk about, you can see, big investment, huge investment, over $2 billion just here. Why do we do that? Well, you know, we do every year we do a market outlook and look out for the next 20 years. What do we predict as the market for commercial airplanes, both in the number of airplanes and in dollars? And it just keeps getting bigger. The latest market outlook predicts that over the next 20 years, the world will demand over 36,000 large commercial transport airplanes like we build, and that translates into over $5.2 trillion. Not too many businesses that have that kind of market opportunity in the next 20 years. And you know, the good news is that it's a pretty high barrier to entry. There's really only 2 companies in the world right now that are serving that market. but we know that there's a lot of other companies and countries that would like to have a big piece of that business, including China. And China is making huge investments in aerospace, and particularly in commercial transports, and they have a couple designs underway right now that will encroach on the market we have. So we are, with the investments we made, we are very well positioned to continue to capture a big portion of that market, but we know that every day we have to work to stay competitive, and we need to keep developing those products. But that's a big part of our motivation, and some numbers I just enjoy looking at. Thanks, Sharon. And going along with that, we are in the process basically of renewing every part of our commercial airplane product line. We've completed the development of the next version of the 47 with the Dash 8 and the Dash 8 Intercontinental. We have completed 2 members of the 87 family that take the place of the 67 family. We are in the process now of developing the next generation 37 that is the MAX, more efficient, more capable airplane. And the big project we have underway now is the next version of the 777, which will have share the composite wing technology of the 787, as well as new engines, be a bigger, more efficient, more capable airplane. So we are investing big in the future. Okay. I'm really excited to be part of developing the Engineering Design Center here in South Carolina. We made the decision as part of the diversification strategy. Again, we didn't want to have all of our engineering so completely centric to Puget Sound, so we made the decision to create 3 engineering design centers, 2 in addition to Seattle, one in Long Beach, one in Southern California, that's primarily focused around customer support, and then the Engineering Design Center here in South Carolina is primarily focused on doing the engineering that supports the products that we build here. And as we develop that capability, we'll branch out from that like we are with Propulsion South Carolina. We had a great engineering team already to build on, lots of production support with the 87, but now our team's getting opportunities to do new design work, more development work, more technology development kinds of work. But really, part of this was when we look out and see that kind of future over the next 20 years, and it's really getting ready for that kind of growth that we see. Boeing, in July, a year from now, will celebrate 100 years, will be the 100th year of Boeing. There's not too many companies that have been around with their name like that for 100 years. So now and we'll be doing some fun things to celebrate that, by the way. But now we're looking at, okay, what do we need to do to get ready for the next century growth? And the Engineering Design Center, what we're doing in Boeing, South Carolina, really is part of getting ready for that next 100 years. And we plan to be around. Okay. Also, one other advantage of having an Engineering Design Center here like that, it really helps us have better access to local and regional engineering talent. We've always drawn on schools like Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech, but not so much, not as heavily on the schools here like University of South Carolina, Clemson, and Citadel. So it's giving us stronger relationships, more close relationships with the schools here, and really I think will give us access to really good talent. There's quite a few on our team now, and that'll just grow in the future. Next year. One of my favorite programs here in South Carolina is something that we call the EDGE Factory Rotation Program. Because our workforce, neither the production nor the engineering workforce is represented, we have more flexibility on the part of our team. And last year, again, kind of out of necessity, when we were getting a bit behind schedule, going up to the higher rate, in one of the tough areas where we join the mid-body sections, we drill and join the mid-body sections of the airplanes. We decided we needed a third shift crew, but we were out of production employees to put on there. So we thought, hey, let's put an engineering team together to staff that third shift. And what we found was, we put them through the proper training. What we found is not only could the engineers drill holes and do the join well, but while they were doing it, they came up with lots of ideas on how to do it better. And they had the opportunity to learn how the plans, the processes that they had developed, the designs that they'd done, better idea of how that affects the production employees, and make the kind of changes to help make that go more smoothly. and the engineers just love the experience. They worked on third shift for 3 months. I used to see them kind of trudging out of the factory in the morning as I was walking in, but they loved the experience. They learned so much, and really did make sustainable gains in the production in that particular area. So we're replicating that now. We have 3 or 4 additional edge teams that we've done since that time that have all been successful, that have all helped to make sustainable gains in the factory. And we're finding that, hey, we take tough, complex production areas, integrate the engineers into actually doing that production work, and they'll help us figure out how to do it better and how to do it more efficiently. And it's a really, really exciting program. Next. Boeing Research and Technology, as I mentioned, is now getting established, and again, will give our engineers here an opportunity to branch out, to do some technology development work, and to bring more expertise here to Boeing, South Carolina. Okay. And just to get an idea what Propulsion South Carolina does, that happens to be the inlet of the 3.7, pretty complex piece of structure. It has aluminum, titanium, composite, so our team is having a good time designing and developing and ready to build that. Next. And the IT Center of Excellence is establishing more information technology expertise here. Next. Now, I mentioned that I think of all of the places that I've worked at Boeing, it feels like we just have a stronger connection between our whole workforce and our company here with the community in South Carolina. And our team almost, there's hardly, I think, a person on the whole team that isn't involved in the community in some way or another. And the company has made significant investment in the community, over $20 million in the nonprofits since 2009. And you may have heard that we recently donated $100,000 to the Low Country Food Bank, but also $5 million in that same event, $5 million to the Medical University of South Carolina Children's Unit. So, it gives us an opportunity to really be a catalyst in the community. Okay. And we also are working to lead the way and set a good example in terms of environmental stewardship. On top of that big giant final assembly building is all solar panels. So we are helping to generate some of our own electricity, and we're committed also to zero waste into the landfills. So again, setting a good example. And I do just want to mention, before I wrap up, mention one other program that we're really proud of. It's something called the Dream Learners. It's unique to South Carolina. Every day during the school year, we bring in a middle school, I think it's typically 6th graders, into the factory, and have a facility that overlooks final assembly, and we teach them not just how airplanes fly, we teach them how we produce them, and we give them an opportunity to simulate a production team. And really the whole idea is to expose them to the kinds of opportunities and to get them interested in math and science, and we, for selfish reasons, develop that pipeline of future employees that we need in the next 100 years. So just to wrap up here, how are things going today? Where are we? I mentioned that last year was pretty challenging getting up to the higher rate. We went from 7 to 10 a month in the mid and aft, and we went from 1.5 airplanes in final assembly up to 3 airplanes in final assembly. But we ended the year in much better position than we started it. We really smoothed out production. We've stabilized production there. I can just feel it when you walk through. It's much more orderly and almost calm, even though still lots of challenge. But it really positions us to get ready for the next set of challenges that we have, increasing our rates on the Dash 9, producing the next new version, the Dash 10, going from 10 a month to 12, and then to 14 a month in mid-body, and eventually to go to 7 a month in final assembly. So we will be, at that point, we will be producing as many 8.7s in final as we do in Puget Sound. And we've spent a lot of time getting the facility ready. You've seen the additions there. Final assembly is now all provisioned for that increase in rate and for bringing in the longer, the stretched airplane. And we'll continue to develop both the pipeline of new employees and develop the expertise of the employees that we have. We'll continue to develop the great relationships that we have with our local suppliers here and just build on that relationship that we've established with the community and with the local governments and the businesses of South Carolina. So, we will continue to invest. We look forward to continuing to work with everybody here, and we're looking forward to what the future in the next 100 years is going to bring. Let's take a few questions here.
How big a threat to your organization are two things? One, with the union trying to make inroads and unionize your workforce, and two, the threat from competitors like Embraer and Airbus, which are basically government subsidized and competing with you guys, that are a completely private company or a public company.
I guess, the thing I'll just say about the union is, we just don't believe that is a union is in the best interest, not just of the company, but we don't think it's in the best interest of our employees. We don't think it's in the best interest of the community.
Good for you.
And you heard about some of the things that we're able to do because we don't have a representative workforce. We think, we don't think a third party that doesn't always have our team's best interest in mind is the right thing to do. And we will continue to advocate that position.
Good.
Our competitors, I kind of say, to me, I don't like to use complain about the subsidy. I think that's a bit of an excuse sometimes. Our job is to just find ways to be more and more efficient, more competitive every day. And we know, in our case, we can't depend on the government to do that for us. We have to do that for ourselves. Airbus is a very strong competitor. Their products continue to get better every time they develop something or improve something. So, we just have to stay on the forefront and making sure we're making the investments in technology and in the development of our products so that they can't catch up.
Two questions. What is the total annual payroll in South Carolina?
I have to say, I'm sorry, I do not have any idea of that number, but I'm sure it's a lot.
What did, in helping to choose to come to South Carolina, how was our technical school system part of that?
Well, the Trident Tech played a very big part in that. And the Ready SC played a very big part of it. It was really with collaborating and partnering with them that they actually, Ready SC actually, helped to go identify people and talent, and Trident, working with Trident Tech, did the basic training to get them ready to work in our facility. So it was a big deal. And I'm not aware of any place else in the company we've done that to that magnitude.
How does Boeing's production compare with that of the
Well, so that we are. Yeah. So our big competitor is Airbus, Embraer and Canadair. Embraer and Bombardier, a little bit right now. Their products are a little bit under, smaller than the 37, so we don't consider them quite a direct competitor. We're pretty even. Although this year we outproduced and outdelivered Airbus. We look at both orders and deliveries, and we had greater orders in terms of dollars. They had a little bit greater number of orders in terms of numbers of airplanes, but our dollar value was higher because we have a higher market share of the wide bodies. They have a slightly higher market share of the single aisle, but it's an absolute dogfight out in the marketplace every day. They're strong competitors, and it's probably never been a more competitive market, which is why we feel so compelled to get more and more competitive.
Two things. First of all, thank you for being here. Appreciate the investment y'all made. Our club is going to be celebrating our 100th anniversary the same time y'all are.
Congratulations.
Organize a flyover. outdoor meetings, just have y'all fly.
I'm sure that Lindsay can do that.
The other thing is, how do you keep your corporate offices in Chicago with weather and this facility?
Yeah.
Maybe one goes down.
I have noticed that they like to come and visit certain times of the year.
Could I say something, John?
Yeah.
Thank you for being here today, and maybe for reading in our newspaper this week about you all just changing at the helm, and I commend you and applaud you for putting a female engineer as your president.
As you may have probably heard, the head of our Boeing South Carolina facility here, VPGM, Jack Jones, has announced his retirement, and Bev Weiss will be taking the helm of Boeing South Carolina. I'll just say, Jack has done just a great job of leading Boeing South Carolina through some really tough times, through a really challenging time, and he is leaving us just really well positioned for the future. So I think he feels that this is the right time for him to go off to his next adventure. And I've had a chance to work with Bev Weiss a number of times throughout my career. I know her well. And boy, she's most recently led the 737 into those kind of high rate production programs that rates that we've never done before. And I think she's just absolutely the right person to lead us into the future.
Dan, we have this, appreciation for your time.
Okay.
Thank you for coming up here and all Boeing's doing. And Sonny has talked about the technical schools, but we're very thankful of you and your counterparts for what y'all are doing to produce quality employees to recruit companies like Boeing. And Elliot let you off easy. We'd really like a club chartered flight up to Chicago to our international headquarters for our 100th anniversary and then a night on the town. President Mark, next week's program?
Sure. Next week we'll meet at 12:30. Don't forget, be here by 12 to enjoy some time with fellowship and meet with other Rotarians. The program next week is Rick Reams. Rick's the Executive Director of the South Carolina Department of Revenue.
Thank you, Mark. Now that Rick closes, or Jim Smithwick closes out.
Shining